Now I am referring to all of you, my dear friends. New syllabus indirect tax laws for CA final. The focus attention on the CA final. Of course, it also covers CMA final of the new syllabus followed by the CS professional examination. My way of presentation, all in terms of diagrammatic presentation. My humble request to all of you is you have to punctual in the lectures by not missing in between of lectures you have to attend, or if you miss also any one or two lectures, I am here to provide the backup support to all of you, resulting that no student will left without covering 100% syllabus. I am here to take care the 100% syllabus right from the GST to the level of the foreign trade policy. I am going to take up 100 marks of your syllabus of CA final indirect tax laws applicable for our May 2024 exam onwards. Same also applicable for our CMA final July 2024 exam onwards. What is applicable for May 2024 for CA final is well applicable for CMA final or CS professional from June 2024 exam onwards. If we refer the syllabus structurized by the CA Institute with regard to indirect tax laws from May 2024 exam onwards, they said out of 100 marks of indirect tax laws, we are going to provide very good weightage to the GST, 80 marks to the GST, 20 marks to the customs and foreign trade policy FTP. And they also said we are expecting expertise knowledge in the indirect tax laws. With regard to the GST, CGST, IGST, what is applicable to the industry is our syllabus for our exams. That means to say that the issue says that my CA finalist should be par with a GST practitioner in the industry. Once you're good enough with the GST provisions and you are coming out with the good marks in the indirect tax laws, you are good enough straight away to practice in the industry under the GST law. This is what the expectation of the institute. Accordingly, syllabus has been structurized by giving highest weightage to the GST, 80 marks, 20 marks only to the customs and foreign trade policy. And they also said the chapters with which CA final student already familiarized. What are those topics? Intermediate level topics, elementary topics like scope of supply, levy of GST, composite supply, mixed supply, composition scheme, followed by exemptions, reverse charge mechanism. Further, the input tax credit chapter. Further, time of supply, value of supply, and place of supply. These are all chapters with which my CA final level student is all of you familiarized. Is the expectation of the institute. With that, what they have mentioned in the syllabus of CA final applicable for our May 2024 exam onwards is from these elementary intermediate chapters, we are going to ask at final level case study oriented questions. case study oriented questions. Meaning what? From the scope of supply to input task rate chapter, whatever covering in between, from these chapters, we will ask in the examination of CA final by inviting practical scenarios. Especially we will focus the attention to decide the case with the help of decided provision or decided case law or whatever may be relevant provision applicable for the given practical theory they are going to expect. How they are going to expect? One example I will provide to you. There may be a possibility one cannot rule out case studies, case laws of the judiciary may going to ask in the examination. Advance ruling from authority for advance rulings or the judiciary rulings right from the Commissioner of Appeals to the level of the Supreme Court of India. From there they can ask, or otherwise they will create a story, practical story, and they will ask you who is right, on what grounds the person taxpayer is right, or on what grounds GST department is right. Explain. Like that they may ask the questions. I am giving the new syllabus, expectation of the institute, certain important points. They very clearly said in the first chapter of the CA final new syllabus, case scenarios with regard to elementary chapters, namely intermediate level chapters, comprising scope of supply, levy and collection, mixed supply, composite supply, followed by the composition scheme, exemptions, reverse charge mechanism, value of supply, place of supply, time of supply, and further input task rate. From these areas, comprehensive level they are going to ask in the examination is the meaning. Further, the rest of the provisions, whatever there in the GST, CGST as well as IGST Act is applicable for the examination. In addition to that, anything is going to be introduced under the GST as a new provisions which also applicable. But one thing is very clear, the issue is following amendments based on the particular relevant finance act which is taken place prior to 6 months from the date of examination, that only applicable. For example, my dear friends, what is the finance act which is applicable for our coming exam of May 2024 CA final? If you ask me, Finance Act 2023 is applicable. All amendments up to what date is applicable for our May 2024 examination? Up to 31st October, amendments based on the Finance Act 2023 is applicable for our May 2024 examination. Means prior to the 6 months from the date of examination, amendments are applicable. Simple terminology to say. Further, my dear friends, I am going to provide to you people a printed, fine-tuned material as per the expectation of the institute by revising thoroughly as per the syllabus of the CA final for our May 2024 examination onwards. What is applicable, I am going to provide a separate handbook. I also going to work out in between comprehensive problems, case study oriented problems, and also case laws which are relevant from the relevant chapter. I am going to bring forward discussion in the class. Taking this all into account, prima facie I am providing to you upfront Do not miss the class. Even if any one or two classes are missing, you are not going to worry about it. I am here to provide backup support of those classes. All my classes are recorded classes are readily available on day-to-day basis to my beloved students across the India, whoever accessing it. So, taking this as a preamble to the new syllabus of indirect tax laws, which is applicable for our CA Final May 2024 exam onwards, I am now going to bring to notice a brief discussion, a particular memory recall from scope of supply. Scope of supply very important, because when you talk about the levy of GST on what? On supply. If there is no supply, question of levy does not arise, my dear friends. So how to understand the term supply? Refer section 7 of the CGST Act, where we have supply includes and supply excludes categories. Supply includes section 7, subsection 1, clause A, clause B. In between inserted clause AA followed by clause C to section 7, subsection 1, which supply includes. I will refer that. And also we have a declared nature of supply. What is supply of goods? What is supply of services has been declared in the schedule 2, which is now has been very clearly mentioned by saying that under section 7, subsection 1, capital A, where it shows the finger to refer schedule 2 to note declared nature of supply. Supply has been declared as supply of goods, as supply of services. We bound to follow those particular transactions. If it is supply of goods means we have to follow supply of goods only. If it is supply of service means we have to follow supply of service only, which is called declared nature of supply, which is schedule 2 of the CGST Act. And in between we have supply, section 7, subsection 1, clause C, which talks about activities covered under schedule 1 even without consideration is a supply. How to understand, sir? Refer schedule 1. Generally, as you understood, supply where GST apply if it is for consideration. If there is no consideration, generally there won't be any GST unless the transaction covered under section 7, subsection 1, clause C. Read with schedule 1, where we have 4 transactions even without consideration is a supply, namely called as deemed supply. We will refer that. Just I am telling you the scope of supply, the scope, how bigger the scope of supply. Just I am briefing you as a memory recall from your intermediate level to the final level. I am going to be explain comprehensive manner presentation, case study oriented presentation on scope of supply, just by refreshing the memory recall of the intermediate syllabus. Further, my dear sir, when you talk about supply excludes section 7, subsection 2, read with schedule 3. Schedule 3, there are 8 transactions which specifically says that supply excludes. Now I am going to bring to your notice, first and foremost, supply includes section 7, subsection 1, clause A, which says that all form of supply of goods, supply of services are both where it is includes the following: sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, lease, rental or disposal. 8 transactions which has been supplied for consideration in the course or furtherance of supply, for consideration in the course or furtherance of business is a supply. Means what? These 8 transactions are carried out with consideration in the course or furtherance of business, then only supply, my dear friends. Meaning thereby these transactions carried out without consideration, no supply. Sir, it is carried out for consideration, sir, but not in the course or furtherance of business, sir. What do you mean this? With one example I am going to present in front of you. My dear friends, I am Mr. Rafi, a retired professor from Anna University. For example, I owned an ambassador car, olden days ambassador car, which I sold to a particular company, Car Deco. I sold it for 2 lakh rupees. There is a sale? Yes. Consideration is there? Yes. But it is not come under the scope of supply to levy the GST. Reason, it is not in the course or furtherance of business. Meaning thereby, sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, lease, rental or disposal should be in the course or furtherance of business for consideration. Then only it is a supply. Thereby we can apply GST thereon. It may be interest rate supply, thereby GST will apply, or it may be interest rate supply where we are going to apply IGST. Further referring to you, my dear friends, when you say activities or transactions by a person other than an individual to its members or constituents or vice versa for cash, deferred payment or other valuable consideration, where section 7 section 1 clause AA says that in a simple terminology, if there is a particular non-profit making organization or a particular association which consists of their members. An association consists of members. Members formed an association which may be non-profit making association. That association provides the services to their members, supply of services. That association provides the goods to their members, is supply of goods. Vice versa, the members, individual, provide the services to that association where they have the membership is called supply of services. If the member provided goods to that association is called as supply of goods. There won't be any much difficulty to apply in application. Though in the income tax law, association and its members maybe both are one and same. It is not so in the case of GST law. Association and its members are different. If they supply the goods, supply of goods. If they supply services, supply of services. As the case may be, a particular safeguarding the provision, it is safeguarding scope of supply. Referring further here, section 7, subsection 1, clause B. What is it is? Import of services. Import of services for consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. How to understand this, my dear friends? Section 7.1 clause C refers import of services for consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. Section 7, section 1, clause B refers. What do you mean by import of services? Sir, import of services means we have definition under section 2, subsection 11 of the IGST, where the supplier of service outside India, the recipient of service should be in India, the place of supply should be in India. Then it is called as import of services. Repeating, as per section 2, subsection 11 of the IGST, it defines the term import of service. What do you mean it? The location of supplier outside India, the recipient of service in India, and place of supply should be in India. Then it is called import of services. Such import of services for consideration, then it is falls under the clutches of scope of supply, even though that import of services may not be in the course or furtherance of business. I have not given the much attention on the part of the sale, transfer, barter, exchange, lease, rental or disposal is elementary terminologies which you already covered at the intermediate level. Therefore, at final level, I am not going to be stressed on it. You understood these points. Again, why I should explain? What do you mean by sale? Sale means nothing but transfer of property from one person to other person for cash or deferred payment, like that. Why should I refer? It is already aware of that. Sale means you are aware of that. Like the transfer, barter, exchange and so on, you are aware of that. Even I am not going to give the concentration on consideration, because consideration already you considered well in your intermediate level. Consideration as defined under section 2, subsection 31, which says that consideration, it may be in kind, it may be in cash, it may be received for the transaction of forfeited amount, as the case may be. Consideration in simple terminology is nothing but payment with reciprocity is equal to consideration. Reciprocity means what? Exchanging the things for mutual benefits. You do for me this, I will do for you that. Simple example. Rafi sir says that I will provide the subject to you, you please pay the fees to me. It is called reciprocity. You paid the fees to Rafi Academy with the greater intention. You are going to get a very good knowledge in the subject of indirect tax laws. With that expression, you paid the fees. This is called reciprocity. That is a consideration for the Rafi Academy. There must be consideration. But all payments cannot be consideration, my dear friends. Why? Because the payment without reciprocity is only a payment. Nothing but what? A donation. Donations does not fall under the category of consideration. As long as there is no consideration, so long there is no supply, which is not applying GST. Unless the transaction is covered under the Schedule 1 of the CGST Act. Are you getting my point? Am I right? Yes, my dear friends, please confirm to me. I am just refreshing your memory recall of the intermediate level at final level, where the final level of indirect taxes, new syllabus elevated their standard to the higher level. Just only a refreshment of the intermediate level I am referring here. Nothing else. Are you with me? Yes, confirm, my dear friends. At least 1%, please. Richard, are you getting, my dear friends? Tell me. Unmute your mic and speak, my dear friends, with me. Are you with me? I am going with your level of understanding. Yes. So final level, my dear friends, semi-qualified chartered accountants, cost accountants, company secretaries are sitting in front of me. I am taking the class. And one way or the other, I will say that, proud to say that in this particular batch, my students who already qualified as a chartered accountant also taken the admission for further enhancement of their knowledge in the subject. That is a really great thing for me. That is a real reward. Highly thankful to my below students who has been qualified and joining the classes further to expertise their knowledge on the day-to-day activities of indirect tax laws. Great. Now, my dear sir, I am presenting in front of you scope of supply. Supply includes, I am briefing it, what it is, how it is. Now, further. Sir, you said import of services for consideration. Then, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business is supply. Supply includes it. In that case, who liable to pay GST, sir? If the GST applies, the recipient liable to pay GST for the import of services. For the import of services, who liable to pay GST? The recipient liable to pay GST, my dear. Sir, if that is the case, what is the time of supply for the recipient who pay the tax in the case of import of services? For example, I am telling you, time of supply, you are already aware of that. It is your cake at intermediate level. Time of supply is equal to the date on which the recipient who makes the payment to supplier is the time of supply. If the payment is made within 60 days from the date of invoice. If not, the first day that occurs after expiry of 60 days from the date of invoice is the time of supply. So, the first and foremost chapter of your final level itself is a combination of scope of supply, place of supply, value of supply, time of supply, levy of supply, levy on supply, followed by exemption of supply, exempted supply. Further, whether it is qualified for input tax credit or not, all the combination is one first chapter of yours at CA final level. A comprehensive chapter it is, I can say. Though they may given separate topics, the main syllabus of CA final new syllabus, if you refer, is the first module is combination of all chapters at final level is one module. So now I'm referring to you import of services for consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business is taxable, come under the category of scope of supply or same apply if it is a taxable supply. Example I will provide here, my dear friends. Sir, my name is Infosys Limited. I am located in Bangalore. Infosys Limited, place of business in Bangalore, Karnataka. Such Infosys Limited import these services from A Incorporation of USA. From A Incorporation of USA imported certain services, artificial intelligence services imported. Worth is in Indian rupees 2 crores. 2 crores rupees of worth of artificial intelligence services imported by the Infosys company from A Incorporation of USA is import of service, because location of supplier of service USA, location of recipient Bangalore, Karnataka in India. Imported for what price? 2 crores. Consideration is there. Whether the Infosys company using that artificial intelligence service which they imported in the course of their business or not, immaterial. It may be they are going to be give free of cost to somebody else, or it has been imported for a particular charitable society purpose in India. The purpose of import is immaterial. Imported these services for the purpose of using in the course of their business or profession, immaterial. They may use for the personal purpose of their employees also. So what? Artificial intelligence services imported by the Infosys company from USA, A Incorporation for rupees 2 crores, which is subject to the GST, namely IGST, in the hands of the recipient, namely Infosys company Bangalore, liable to pay GST under the reverse charge mechanism. Here, what is not relevant? The business test not relevant. When you refer section 7.1 clause A, sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, lease, rental or disposal for consideration should be, must be in the course or furtherance of business. Then only it comes under the clutches of scope of supply. Whereas import of services, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business, it is called as import of services come under the clutches of the GST. If it is a taxable, IGST will be levied, the liability to pay IGST on the recipient in India under reverse charge mechanism. For which you know the time of supply. Time of supply in the case of a reverse charge mechanism, where the recipient going to make the payment to the supplier is the time of supply. If the payment is made within dash number of days from the date of invoice, within 60 days from the date of invoice. If within 60 days from the date of invoice, payment is not made by the recipient to the supplier, in that case, the reverse charge where recipient liable to pay GST, ask him apply, he liable to pay GST by treating the time of supply as the first day that occurs after the expiry of 60 days from the date of invoice. It is as simple as this. Further, my dear friends, referring here, section 7, section 1, clause C, transactions which are covered under schedule 1, even without consideration, is a supply. Sir, consideration, if not there, question of levy does not arise in general. But section 7.1 clause C says that, hey mister, even though there is no consideration, there is a supply, we will apply the GST. If the transaction or the activity covered under schedule 1, point number 1. Sir, schedule 1, point number 1. What are the points are covering, sir? Schedule 1, point number 1. What are the points are covering therein? One can ask me a doubt. Schedule 1, what are the points are covering? There are 4 transactions are covering, which are deemed supply. Namely, the transaction even without consideration is supply. There are 4 transactions are there. Schedule 1. Schedule 1. There are 4 transactions are there. Very important in application, my dear sir. These are the 4 transactions. If you not catch hold properly in application, then you will get caught. These are the 4 transactions incorporated under the Schedule 1. Schedule 1 is appended to the CGST Act and it has a legal backup. Section 7, subsection 1, clause C of the CGST Act says, refer the Schedule 1 to know the transactions, activities, even without consideration is a supply. In that case, what are those transactions? 1. Permanent transfer or disposal of business assets where the input tax credit has been availed on such asset. Simple. Permanent transfer or disposal, meaning thereby there should not be what we can call revocable transfer. If I given to you means you taken away, I have no right to get back then again. That means there is no revocable. It means to say that irrevocable transfer of my business assets. On those business assets, I already availed the input tax credit under GST law. And what I availed the credit, that asset now is there in the organization, which now I am disposing of freely. I donated it. If I donated freely to a particular charitable institution, such a donation is a supply, because the asset what you donated basically your business asset. Yes sir. On such asset you avail the input tax credit. I already availed, sir. That asset you are disposing of freely in the name of donation. So what is a supply? GST apply. Sir, what's the value, sir? Value not there, no, sir. Hey, mister, don't worry. For you, we have valuation rules. Separate valuation rules we have, where the rule provides to you how to arrive the value in such case. Don't worry at all about the valuation. Now, why the lawmaker said like this? Sir, if you purchase the asset on which you avail the input tax credit, means you got the benefit of the GST paid by you on that. What for they given the GST credit to you on such asset? Because you are going to use the asset to produce taxable output supply, and where you going to pay again GST on the output supply. There is a cascading effect of tax. To eliminate such cascading effect of tax, lawmaker said you avail the input tax credit, meaning thereby input tax credit not a benefit to the taxpayer, where the transaction is B2B, business to business. Input tax credit is given only to eliminate cascading effect of tax. You know what is the cascading effect of tax? Not required to refer. It is the elementary issue of the intermediate level. Now, in the case where if there is no cascading effect of tax, why we should give the credit to you? Says government. That means if there is no cascading, there is no input tax credit granted. Now, I purchase the furniture, for example, I am buyer come seller of furniture. I am doing trading business in furniture. My stock in trade is furniture. I purchase the furniture by paying the GST. I avail the ITC. That asset, that furniture, now I am giving freely to a particular old age home, to a particular non-profit organization. To them, I donated freely that furniture. Means what? On your output supply, you are not liable to pay any GST. Meaning thereby there won't be any cascading. The credit already availed, na? That availed credit with the intention you are going to suffer for cascading. Thereby the credit has been given in advance. In such case, the law of the land says that no problem, Mr. Supplier. You supply the furniture to a old age home society, non-profit organization. Yes, sir. No problem. Supply. It is called supply of goods. Liable for GST. Valuation. Refer the valuation rules. What rate of GST applicable? On that will apply. You have to pay the GST. That means such transaction, even without consideration, is called supply. Permanent transfer or disposal of business assets on which input tax credit has been availed. Coming to the point number 2. If you refer the point number 2, my dear friends, in the given case, point number 2, if you refer here, supply of goods or services or both between related persons or between distinct persons as specified in section 25 of CGST Act, when made in the course or furtherance of business, even without consideration, is a supply. Sir, what is it, sir? As you are aware of that. Related person, we have explanation under this section 15 of the CGST, which nothing but a holding company, subsidiary company, or one company holding in another company not less than 25% of equity share capital or voting right, or one director of one company is also director of the other company, or the partners of the partnership firm and partners of the partnership firm, employer, employee, we call them related persons. 25% equity share capital held one company, other company, or voting rights not less than 25% held by one company, other company. Maybe two or more companies jointly together may have in one company. That means holding company, separate company. Together they hold 30% in the Z Limited. Then the holding company, separate company, and Z Limited, we call them as related parties. Employer and employee called related parties. Partners of the partnership firm are the related parties. Members of the same family also be called related persons. Family, we have definition, section 2, section 49 of the CGST, where it refers spouse and their children, and parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, who are wholly or mainly dependent on such person, called related parties, namely members of the same family. Repeating, section 2, section 49 of the CGST refers the term family, which is none other than members of the family called as related persons. Related persons. Who are they? Husband, wife. Example, Mr. Rafi, Mrs. Rafi. Mr. Rafi, Mrs. Rafi. Spouse. We both are the related parties. Our children's, whether they depend or not, immaterial. Our children's, we are called as related persons. My son, my daughter, are related parties. Now, I am Mr. Rafi, carrying the profession. Rafi and Associates, Chartered Accountants, for example, in case. Now, Rafi and Associates, sole proprietor is Mr. Rafi. In that case, Mr. Rafi, being a sole proprietor, of Rafi and Associates, if he dealt transactions with his parents, his grandparents, his brothers, his sisters, parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters of Mr. Rafi, who are wholly or mainly dependent on Mr. Rafi, then only called as related parties, related persons, namely come under the category of family. Family is a term which incorporated under the term related parties. Related parties includes family. Family refers section 249, which says that spouse and their children. After that, parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters of such person who are mainly or wholly dependent on such person, then we called as related parties. Transaction between us, even without consideration, is a supply. Is a supply. Even without consideration is a supply. I will refer this matter in the following manner. Rafi and Associates, firm of chartered accountants, where Mr. Rafi is the sole proprietor, received certain legal consultancy services from his father, who is well-known advocate in Madras High Court. Mr. Rafi's father, a practicing advocate in Madras High Court, from whom Mr. Rafi, sole proprietor of Rafi and Associates, received legal consulting services. Free. Whose worth in the market 10 lakh rupees. Since Mr. Rafi received this type of services from his father, who provided freely to his son, what? 10,000 legal consultancy services. Now you tell me, in the given scenario, Mr. Rafi and Rafi father, are they related persons under the GST? Is it falls under the definition of family as referred under section 2 subsection 49 of the CGST? Absolutely not. Why? Because Mr. Rafi father, who is a well-known advocate in Madras High Court, who is not depending on Mr. Rafi, resulting that where Mr. Rafi and Associates received from his father legal services freely, they are not related persons. As long as Rafi's father and Mr. Rafi are not related persons, then that transaction not going to cover under the clutches of Schedule 1. Whatever the transaction which is not covered under the roof of Schedule 1, such transaction one should establish consideration is there or not, meaning thereby to levy GST on such supply, the supply without any consideration, then GST not going to apply because the transaction is not covered under the Schedule 1. The transaction covered under Schedule 1, then only, even without consideration, it is called as a supply. Since the given transaction between Mr. Rafi and Rafi father, they are not related parties. They are not related parties. Their transaction not falls under the Schedule 1. If so, in that case, there must be a consideration to levy the GST or to bring that into the GST purview. Consideration is must, except the transaction covered under Schedule 1. So, from this angle, I would like to bring to a notice one important area of practical scenario in the given case is as follows. Hopefully, you answer this practical nature of provision, which I lifted from the institute material only. Referring here, listen, my dear friends. One example I am referring here. Raman is an architect in Chennai. His brother, who is settled in London, is a well-known lawyer. Raman has taken legal advice from him free of cost with regard to his family dispute. Examine whether the said activity would amount to supply under Section 7, read with Schedule 1 of the CGST Act. Would your answer be different if in the above case, Raman has taken the advice in respect of his business unit in India? Now, my dear friends, first and foremost, you have to refer Raman and his brother. Are they related parties? Are they come under the same family? The provision, if you, by reading this, you got a strong impression that Raman's brother, well-known advocate in London, who is not depending on Raman. As a result, parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters who are wholly or mainly dependent on such person only come under the category of family which is falls under the related parties. But here, Raman brother are not same family. They are not related persons because one is not depending on the other. Having this, they are not going to cover under Schedule 1. Since they are not covered under Schedule 1, to bring the transaction, namely import of services, where the Raman import these services from his brother from London, to bring under the category of scope of supply, there must be consideration. Now, Section 7(1) Clause B says that import of services for consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. Here, consideration is not there. Even though the services are imported for their business purpose, it is not going to attract the GST. It is not come under the clutches of the GST. It is not fall under the scope of supply because this import of services without consideration and the transaction not covered under Schedule 1. That is the reason. Solution for the given case, how should we present in the examination? In the following manner, you can present in the examination. Import of services by a person from a related person located outside India without consideration is treated as supply if it is provided in the course or furtherance of business. In the given case, Raman and his brother are not related persons since Raman's brother, who is not wholly or mainly dependent on Mr. Raman. Therefore, services provided by Raman's brother to him would not be treated as supply under Section 7. Read with Schedule 1. In the above case, if the Raman has taken the advice with regard to his business unit, service provided by Raman brother to him still not be treated as supply under the Section 7 of the CGST Act. Read with Schedule 1. As although the same are provided in the course or furtherance of business, such services have not been received from a related person. Have not been received from related person. There's a reason, my dear friends. So, this type of questions may twist and ask in the examination. They may say, Alternatively, if Raman paid services imported by him from his brother, who is an advocate in London, 2 lakh rupees, such import of services for their personal purposes also be not under the GST. Also be not attract the GST, I said. Why not attract the GST, sir? Why not attract GST? Raman imported services from his brother, who is well-known advocate in London, for 2 lakh rupees for his personal purpose, I said. Import these services for the personal purposes. If that is the case, my dear, we have IGST, one exemption. What exemption we have in IGST here means under the notification number 9/2017 of integrated tax. If we import the services being an individual who is an unregistered person for the personal purposes other than the business or commerce. Repeating, you being an importer, import these services as an unregistered person for the personal purposes from a person outside India. Such import of services by a unregistered person in India, imported services for personal purposes, not the OIDR nature, not the online information database access retrieval services. It is not so. Not OIDR services imported by an importer, Raman, legal consent services imported from whom? From his brother, well-known advocate in London for consideration, which is specifically qualify exemption under the IGST Act. There's a reason I said here, still it is not taxable. Got the clarity, my dear friends? They may twist like that, they may ask in the examination. When taxable means if the Raman imported the services from his elder brother, well-known advocate in London for rupees 2 lakhs, legal services in the course or furtherance of his business, or Raman is a registered person, imported the services from his elder brother for 2 lakhs and using that in the course or furtherance of business. In such cases, that import of services will attract the GST, IGST will attract. On the other hand, if the Raman is an unregistered person, imported the services from his elder brother from London for 2 lakh rupees consideration, which is using for personal purposes, it comes under the import of services, but exempted type of service. Therefore, nil rate of GST will apply. If the Raman is a registered person, imported the services from his elder brother, who is well-known advocate in London for 2 lakhs, then attract the GST, because the person who imported the services not an unregistered person, he is a registered person. That's why attract the IGST under RCM. In that case, though he imported the services not in the course or furtherance of his business, also no problem, since you are a registered person import the services, liable for IGST. In the given case, there is no consideration and not covered under Schedule 1. This transaction not going to cover under the scope of supply at all. Got the clarity, my dear friends? So I refer to you 2 points of Schedule 1. Point number 1, permanent transfer or disposal of business assets on which input tax credit has been availed. The second one, I referred by discussing supply of goods or services or both between related person or between distinct person when made in the course or furtherance of business is called as supply even without consideration. I referred to you the term related person so far. Related person I referred. Now what do you mean by distinct person? Who are they? Who are we called as distinct persons? Who are the distinct persons? How to understand distinct persons? You are very much aware of that. A person holding one PAN number. My name is X Limited, incorporated in Chennai. One PAN number allotted to X Limited, where they incorporate in Chennai. That person having one PAN number further started to open their own plants in Maharashtra, Mumbai, New Delhi, as well as Kolkata, West Bengal. 3 branch offices: Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata. Head office, Chennai. The entire organization, X Limited, having one PAN number. But under GST law, we have multiple registrations, registration state-wise, UT-wise. There is no centralized registration in GST law unless you are foreign embassy in India or United organizations in India, where you are going to obtain not the GSTIN, not the goods and services identification number. You are going to obtain unique identification number. For you only centralized registration. For all other taxpayers, registration is decentralized, state-wise or UT-wise only. Now in the given case, X Limited has 4 registration. One for head office Chennai, branch office Mumbai, branch office Delhi, branch office Kolkata. For the 4 branches, for the 3 branches, 3 separate GST registrations. Head office separate GST registration. But all these registrations, all the 4 registrations of X Limited under GST law based on the PAN number of the X Limited. That means PAN limit of X Limited remains on all India basis. Therefore, having one PAN number, multiple registrations, having one PAN number, multiple registrations, we called as distinct persons. Having one PAN number, having multiple registrations, obtained one PAN number, under one PAN number, multiple registrations under the GST, those people, those registered persons, we called as distinct persons. In that given case, if Delhi office, branch office, supply the goods to Chennai head office, or Chennai head office supply the goods to Kolkata office, or Kolkata office supply the goods or services to branch office of Mumbai, as the case may be, even without consideration is a supply. Even without consideration, it is supply. There the GST will apply if it is a taxable supply. Further presenting here, my dear sir, provided that gift not exceeding 50,000 in value in a financial year by an employer to an employee shall not be treated as supply of goods nor supply of services or both. My humble request, my dear friends, if anybody unmuted their mic, please mute it. You please unmute when you talk with me. You wanted to ask the doubt or you want to talk with me, please unmute and talk. Otherwise, please mute your mic. Thereby, there is a good quality of recording will take place at my end. So, thank you to all of you. Those who are listening, please unmute your mic and listen. You want to ask the doubt you please mute and listen. If you want to ask the doubt, unmute and ask me the doubt. A number of times you can ask the doubt. I am here to clarify your doubts. So listen, my dear friends. Gift given by employer to an employee in a financial year does not exceed 50,000. It is neither goods nor services. Though the employer, related parties, we should not bring the GST at all. How to understand this, sir? A simple point I am going to bring to your notice. In the given case where, let us see here one simple example. How to understand this means, in the given case where I am bringing one example by stating that, let us say, Mrs. X Limited, which is a registered person under the GST, in the financial year 23-24 financial year, they given here gift rupees 1,50,000 given to, let us say, 150 employees. Total gift 1,50,000 given to 150 employees in the financial year 23-24. In a financial year. Now, to one employee, how much gift? Gift to an employee here, 1,50,000 rupees of gift given to 150 employees. Therefore, hard it comes here, how much? 1,000 rupees gift per employee. If 1,000 rupees gift to an employee, to one employee, which is less than or equal to rupees 50,000 in a financial year, then it does not attract GST at all, neither goods nor services. Though the employee related parties, the gift given, even without consideration, then it is not a supply of neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Very specifically mentioned, gift can be given by employer to the employee. Then you can ask me about who is an employee, sir? Employee means what? The person who is in payroll as a permanent employee or a contractual employee. But contract employee employed by the employer. It should not be mean that a employee working in the company through a contractor. In that case, what happened? They are not employees. Understand my difference? Assume scenario, X Limited in their payroll 50 permanent employees, in their payroll 100 contract basis employees. Meaning what? 50 employees appointed by the X Limited, 100 employees also be appointed by the X Limited on contract basis. There is a direct relationship between the employer and employee. Now, there are 200 employees working X Limited through a contractor. That means X Limited making the payment not to the contract employees but to the contractor who supply the manpower. In that case, those employees working through a contractor cannot be called as employee. Be careful. Got the clarity, my dear friends? Ensuring that they are not the employees of the organization if the employee working through a contractor on contract basis. Further, I am going to take up Schedule 1, point number 3.